So the next one, 13th view, general plan data / storage 1. So the first topic, storage bin, identifies the storage bin within a storage location where the material is stored. So this storage bin is only significant if you do not use SAP warehouse management. It appears on goods receipt and goods issue slips. However, if the warehouse management system is active, this value is merely for information. So the next field, temperature conditions indicator, indicates the temperature conditions in which the material should be stored. So the next one, container requirements, key for the regulation that governs which type of container the material must be stored and shipped in. So the next one, physical inventory indicator for cycle counting. So first of all, what is meant by cycle counting? A physical inventory procedure in which materials are counted at regular intervals during a fiscal year. Fiscal year is nothing but financial year. These intervals or cycles depend on the cycle counting indicator set for the relevant material. You can use the cycle counting approach, for example, to ensure that the stock of fast moving items are checked more frequently than the slow moving items. So now, physical inventory indicator for cycle counting indicates that the given material is subject to the cycle counting method of inventory. The indicator also defines at which time intervals a physical inventory is to be carried out for the material. Usage, this indicator groups the materials together into various cycle counting categories. Usually, these categories correspond to the ABC analysis of the materials. However, they can be defined at the user's discretion in customizing for inventory management. So procedure, enter an indicator if the material is to be subject to cycle counting. This indicator can be also later be updated automatically by the system using the report RMCB IN00. So what is meant by ABC analysis? So how these categories used? So ABC analysis of the material is nothing but, so A means fast moving goods or daily usage goods. B means, so we can use weekly once or weekly twice. C category means we can use monthly once or monthly twice. So based on the material usage, so we can category A, B, C, 3 levels. So the next one, CC indicator is fixed. Specifies that the cycle counting indicator cannot be changed for cycle counting by an ABC analysis. The only way to change this indicator is through manual maintenance of the material master record. Procedure, set this indicator if the material is always to remain in the specified cycle counting category. Then label type determines the way labels are created. The label type specifies, for example, whether labels are pre-printed by the supplier or created on central printer. Usage, in inventory management, this key is used to print material document informations on labels. You use the label type and form to define which labels are printed for which goods movement, how many labels are printed, and which printer they are printed on. So procedure, enter a label type if you want to print labels for goods movement. Dependencies, if you enter a label type, you must also enter a label form in the corresponding field. So the next one, label form determines the size and layout of the label. The label form specifies, for example, whether the label is an adhesive or a pin on label. Usage, in inventory management, this key is used to print material document informations on labels. You use the label type and form to determine which labels are printed for which goods movement, how many labels are printed, and which printer they are printed on. So procedure: enter label form if you want to print labels for goods movement. Dependencies: if you enter a label form, you must also enter a label type in the corresponding field. So the next one, unit of issue. Unit in which the material is issued from the warehouse. Usage: in inventory management, the system processes the unit of issue for goods issues, transfer postings, other goods receipt, and reservations. So the procedure: enter a value in this field only if you want to use a unit of measure differing from the base unit of measure. If the field does not contain an entry, the system will assume that the unit of measure in the base unit of measure. So the next one, packing area, groups together storage bins from the standpoint of picking strategies. That is, the storage bins are arranged in a strategically advantageous manner for the task of picking. Usage: this picking area is used for the following purposes: rough cut planning, for example, identifying how long it will take to pick the stock. The next, creation of transfer orders if your company uses lean warehouse management. Dependencies: the picking area is the counterpart to the storage section, which groups together storage bins from the standpoint of put away strategies. So then, storage conditions. The use of storage conditions in the material master at the time of picking location determination. It will take storage locations in the combination of shipping point and plant and storage location and storage condition. So the next field, hazardous material number. Number that identifies the material as a hazardous material or as dangerous goods and assign hazardous material data or dangerous goods data to it. Usage: the hazardous material number indicates that the material is a dangerous, making special precautions necessary for its storage and shipment. Dependencies: you can enter region specific hazardous material data or dangerous goods data separately under one hazardous material number. So the next one, quantity, number of goods receipt and goods issue slips to be printed. Specifies which quantity of the material in the unit of entry usually constitutes a pallet load. Usage: in the case of a goods receipt with reference to a purchase order or production order, the system automatically calculates the number of goods receipt and goods issue slips to be printed for the material document item as a quotient from the goods receipt quantity and the quantity defined here. The value determined is always rounded up to the next higher whole number. If you enter nothing in this field, the material document item is only printed on the goods receipt and goods issue slip. So the next one, approved batch record required. A batch is the quantity of material produced in a run of production. It represents a homogeneous unit with unique specifications and is a subset of the total quantity of material held in stock. Batch management refers to the entirety of the logistics process in production facilities or plants, from procurement to sales, across manufacturing in industries such as pharma, mining, FMCG, retail, aerospace, and many more. Depending on the material, plant, and operational levels, we can choose to classify how each batch will be unique. So, based on the attributes, dimensions, quality, and many more things. There are many reasons to implement batch management, including the traceability of quality issues in a batch that need to be recalled, products about to reach expiration date, and require a specific ISO certifications, etc. So now let us dive into the new change brought into SAP ECC and SAP S4HANA. So the next one, approved batch record required. You use this indicator to specify that the following activities may only be performed after the relevant batch record has been approved. Making the usage decisions for an inspection lot of the origin goods receipt from production, changing the batch status from restricted to unrestricted stock. So the next one, maximum storage period. The longest amount of time allowed for storing the material. Usage, the value displayed here is for information purpose only. The field has no functional importance. In particular, there is no functional connection between this and the following field: minimum remaining shelf life, total shelf life, and storage percentage. So the next one, minimum remaining shelf life. Minimum amount of time for which the material must keep upon goods receipt for the goods receipt to be accepted by the system. So the dependencies, the period depends on the entry in the period indicator field like a day, week, month or year. So the next one, period indicator for shelf life expiration date. The period indicator specifies the unit of measure for a period of time. So the next one, storage percentage. The percentage specifying how much of the minimum remaining shelf life must be left if the material is to be sent to another plant from a central plant. So the next one, time unit. Unit in which the maximum storage period of the material is measured. Then the next field, total shelf life. So the period for which the material will keep in total, that is from the date of production to the shelf life expiration date. Usage, value entered in the material master record. The system assumes that the date entered upon goods receipt is the material's date of production. It then calculates a shelf life expiration date from the date of production plus the total shelf life. No value entered in the material master record. The system assumes that the date entered upon goods receipt is the material's shelf life expiration date. In both cases, the system updates the shelf life expiration date in the batch master record and in the material document if the goods receipt is accepted. Dependencies, the period depends on the entry in the period indicator field, so like week, day, month or year. The shelf life is checked upon goods receipt only if this check has been activated in customizing for inventory management in the activity set expiration date check. So the next one, rounding rule, SLED. In the material master, if the period indicator based on weeks, months or years has been selected for the total shelf life, you can round the shelf life expiration date that has been calculated from the production date and total shelf life to the first or last day of the period chosen. So examples, total shelf life in material master 3. So period indicator in material master M. So M means month. So the production date specified at the goods receipt January 10, 1998. So now the SLED equal to January 10, 1998 plus 3 months, which equal to April 10, 1998. Rounding indicator month, hour, days. So April 10, 1998, no rounding. So then the rounding indicator minus Minus is nothing but first day of month, which means April 1, 1998. Rounding indicator plus, which means last day of month, 30th April 1998. So the next one, expiration date. Indicator for the shelf-life expiration date or expiration date. Usage in batch management, the shelf-life expiration date or expiration date can be specified. You select the date type you want by using this indicator. So the next one, maturity time. The period required by a product after production before it can be used for further production or by a customer. Usage, the maturation time defined in the product master is transferred to all product receipts such as production and stock transferred orders that are generated in APO. The system considers the maturation time of a product receipt during begging. A product requirement can only make use of a product receipt if the requirement time occurs outside the maturation time of the receipt. Procedure, the value is not transferred by means of the CAF interface. Enter the number of days for the maturation time. Dependencies, the maturation time is part of the shelf life period. The maturation time of a product is only considered during the planning if the indicator has been set as the product master. So the next one, required maximum shelf life. The standard value for required maximum shelf life. Usage, if the shelf life is taken into consideration when planning a product requirement can request that this should be covered by a receipt which does not exceed a certain shelf life. This request can be defined so explicitly for the requirement. For example, in the sales order transfer to R3 systems. Otherwise, the value entered here will be adapted as the required maximum shelf life. Example, in the product master data, the standard value for the required maximum shelf life was defined as 10 days. A product order created a receipt on March 1. The product shelf life is until 20th March. A planning requirement on 8th March cannot make use of this receipt. So 8th March plus 10 days, that is the receipt shelf life must be up to at most 18th March, that is before 20th March. The planning requirement is 11th March. Can make use of this receipt 11th March plus 10 days, that is the receipt shelf life must be up to at most 21st March, that is after 20th March. So the next one, segmentation strategy. A strategy that is a collection of a business rules that defines which stock materials should satisfy which demands object. This is done based on the mapping between stock segment associated with a material in stock and requirement segment associated with a demand object. These business rules apply to process such as MRP, ATP and plant independent requirement and so on. By assigning segmentation strategies on materials, you not only determine the valid stock and requirement segments for the corresponding materials but also defines which requirement should be covered by which stock segments. Usage, links a requirement segment to a stock segment. So the next one, default stock segment. Default stock segment value. Usage, segment value which is representative for all segment value combinations. Dependencies, the default values will be used in costings at material level. The system needs the default value as basis for the BOM explosion, routing selection and component valuation. Please note that the system creates Also for let valuated materials, costings at material level. Therefore, each material should have default values for valuation, for example, finished goods and raw materials.